speakers are Amanda G. and Janie B. And at this time, I will introduce the speakers, and our first speaker is Amanda G. Thank you.
Hey everybody, I'm Amanda, I'm Addicts.
Hey Amanda.
And I'm looking at the schedule, and I'm assuming that y'all expect some miraculous information from me out of steps 4, 5, and 6. Or that you don't have any interest to know about what's going on in marriages because it doesn't pertain to you, or you already know that you want what we have. So I'm going to start this by saying there's nothing I'm going to share today that can't be found in our literature.
Okay.
4, 5, and 6 are something that you can't work without literature, a sponsor, and a higher power, period. And without those tools at your disposal, those steps will eat you alive.
Okay.
And so I'm going to read just a little bit of from How It Works and Why, so that I can start out by saying that I understand this completely. It says, however, our experience as a fellowship has shown that sooner or later, members who don't work this crucial step relapse. And that's in step 4 of How It Works and Why. And my personal experience is that I was in this fellowship for a while. I worked those first 3 steps, started working my 4th steps, and I let it eat my lunch. And I never shared my 4th step with my sponsor and went on to my 5th step. And I obviously never made it to my 6th step, my first go around. And I am one of those people that they talk about in here that says, if I don't work my 4th step, I'm going to relapse. And I've been back in this fellowship for right at 6 years now since that happened. But this step 4 is very important to me. And it's something I share about a lot, and it's something I share with my sponsees, is that the 4th step is the step that sets us free. Something that you hear a lot in the rooms in Narcotics Anonymous is that the steps are written in an order for a reason. Mm-hmm. And the steps are written in this order because if you don't learn to let go and let God, there's no way you can take your own personal inventory. The 4th step for me was putting pen to paper to literally look at and identify the insanity in my life. There's a lot of things that 4th step talks about, whether you use a step working guide or your sponsor's got some old worksheets that they want you to work off of, or if you're just sitting down and talking to a member of Narcotics Anonymous, there's a lot of areas of our lives that the disease of addiction affects. And for me, as an addict, when I got here, I wasn't really good at identifying all the areas of my life that the disease affected. And I was definitely not really good at looking at my part in those things. And so after I went through those first 3 steps and I became honest and willing and accepted the fact that I played a part in them, I had to start putting pen to paper and writing down what part I played where. And it wasn't until I got through the ability to write all those down and talk to my sponsor where she helped me identify where there were parts when I got to my 5th step that I hadn't really looked at what my part was. That was her job, was to help guide me through those. There were some areas in my life where I didn't realize how insane I had been until I got to my 4th step. And that was my sponsor's job to help guide me through those. And there's some areas in my life, quite honestly, where I continue to beat myself up over and over again about behaviors and choices and things that I had decided to do that really weren't that bad once I got down to it. That weren't anything that she hadn't experienced or she hasn't done, or other members in this fellowship have done the exact same things I had. But I wasn't able to find that out, and I wasn't able to let that go until I got willing to sit down and talk to somebody about it. Now, I'm not going to share my 4th step with you because I don't know y'all, and I don't have to. But what I can tell you is that I came into this program with a laundry list of crap that I'm not real proud of. And there's a lot of things I did in active addiction, from things I did to get dope to relationships I destroyed along the way that had nothing to do with dope, because I figured out that I was a selfish, self-seeking, manipulative person. And even though it wasn't, I stole from you to go get high, it was that I drained every living emotional ounce of compassion that you had out of your body because I was going to manipulate you to get what I wanted. And it took my 4th step for me to see that about myself. And it took my 3rd step before I got to my 4th step for me to be ready to accept those things about myself. So before we ever get into 5 and 6, there's a real important, strong correlation between what happens in your 3rd step before you ever get to your 4th step. Mm-hmm. With that being said, 4, 5, and 6 are steps that allow you to look at yourself and be free. And you have to do 4, 5, and 6 before you can ever get to 7 to the rest of them, because I can't take a daily personal inventory of myself until I learn what an inventory is.
Right.
And so I had to learn how to identify what part I played, where those things took place, what I needed to examine, how resentments affected my life. Because if you can't figure out what a resentment is, then there's some other things that go along that way. And I had to get real honest about, is there anything else that I haven't talked about with my sponsor that wasn't written in a step working guide that really played a part of that? Did I ever manipulate, cheat, steal, something that wasn't sexual abuse, physical abuse, stealing from my parents? Is there anything I did that was selfish and self-seeking? And it's continued to come up. I mean, first time I worked that 4th step, I didn't write all this stuff down. The second time I worked the 4th step, I wrote most of it down. And since I've been there and I'm going back through the steps, there's some stuff I need to write down again this time. There's still some things that I recognize today that I maybe wasn't just really ready to think about at that point in time. So it's a continual process in my life. But I will tell you, step 4 is something that people get scared of, and it's not worth being scared of. It's a process, and it definitely is an inventory, and it definitely should be thorough, but it is not something to be fearful of, because the other side of that 4th step becomes a lot of you've lifted the weight of your world off of your shoulders. You're not as bad as you think you are. You are an addict, just like every addict that sits in the rooms and earns a seat in Narcotics Anonymous. It is an opportunity for you to free yourself from the burdens that you created or put on yourself during active addiction that maybe just really aren't true. And you don't find that stuff out, though, until you get to the 5th step. Because it doesn't matter how much crap you write down, you're only as sick as your secrets. And if you're not willing to share that shit, and I probably shouldn't have cussed on that tape recorder, but if you're not willing to share it, then you're not willing to get rid of it. And if you're not willing to share it with some other person, you're not willing to let go of it and put it behind you. So for me, I had to sit down and share that with my sponsor, and at some point in time, be honest with God, the God of my understanding, and recognize the fact God of my understanding already knew all this stuff. He was just trying to get me to a point where I could accept it for myself. And so this is a very spiritual-based program, and the steps are there for the God of my understanding to help get me to where I need to be. And sometimes getting me near where I need to be is just getting honest, and getting honest with another human being. Past that point, the one I will tell you that is a lot worse than 4 is 6. Okay? I'm just going to be honest with you. Nobody ever said 6 is going to eat your lunch too, but it did. And so for me, the way I worked that step was my sponsor provided me a list of character defects that she had from probably her sponsor and said, if you think you might have ever had this, write it down. And after like 98 of them, I panicked because I was like, am I this bad? Like, really? Do I really have all these defects of character? And I spent a lot of time on the phone with her going, well, I did that at one point in time, but I'm not doing it anymore. And she's like, write it down. What about this one? I don't really do that behavior anymore. Write it down. So I went through and wrote all this stuff down and looked at what the opposites of those defects were and looked at how they had become my coping mechanisms in life and looked at the fact that today for me, some of those things aren't bad. They're things that get me through, and I've learned how to let go of the negative aspects of those defects and turn them into positive character traits. Defects of character are simply parts of our personality that we've used in a negative way at some point in the past. They are who we are. And there's a reason why it doesn't say in the 6th step that I need to just be ready to let them all go today. That's not how it works. Sometimes I can identify them, but they're still working for me in some way. And so it's about becoming willing to let go of those defects of character. For me, there's a lot of controlling, confident skill sets that I learned in active addiction about how I would stand my ground that I used in a very poor negative manner out there in active addiction. They have become very huge character assets for me today because I know how to not be intimidated, not be a doormat, and to present my opinion respectfully in certain situations. And so having defects of character, and they still come up for me every single day, is a learning process. I let that step work me, And I literally prayed. I'd go through a step and I'd pray and be like, God, show me how this is affecting my life. And I would sit there and God would definitely show me how it was affecting my life, because every single one of them caused me pain in some capacity as I worked it. That doesn't have to be the truth and reality for everybody, but that's how it worked for me, because I had to see it cause pain in my life before I was willing to change. And whereas I worked those first 5 pretty quickly when I came back into this program, it took me a year to work that 6th one, because I had to go through a painful change process of being willing to recognize every one of those defects in my life and how it plays a part. Because without recognizing how it played a part, there's no way I will ever be in a position to correct that behavior. So, with that being said, I will tell you that the 6th step provided a lot of humility for me. The 6th step gave me the ability to not expect you to be perfect. Because once I was able to recognize the fact that I wasn't perfect, and sometimes the things I thought were my strengths became things that hurt other people, it was a lot easier for me to walk into a room and just empathize and let you be who you are. It's the step that it took for me in NA, in my service positions, to understand that you don't have to do it like I do, as long as the ultimate outcome's the same, because you're not perfect either. And my way is not always the best way. And my way sometimes is more painful because I expect it to be done my way. And that your way is just as good as my way because you have some other assets and defects that aren't quite like mine. So the 6th step set me free of a lot of expectations I placed on you. And so it was a very freeing, gratifying step for me to work, because today I can let my husband be my husband, even on the days I want to strangle him. I can let my boss be my boss, even when I think he's not one of us, but he needs to be one of us, you know, and I can let people around me grow into the people they need to be, regardless of where they're at, because we all have defects of character. There is not a single one of us, earth or addicts, that are perfect people. And those defects of character are present in everyone's life, and it's just about how we as individuals have grown up using to learn those, either as strengths or weaknesses, to get what we want when we want it. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing and turn it over, and thanks for letting me share.
Thank you for sharing. Okay, and at this time we'll have Janie B. to share on step 4, 5, and 6.
Hello everyone, my name is Janie, and I'm a recovering addict.
Hey, Janie.
And I qualify because I live to use and used to live. My clean date is August the 1st, 2006. And I'm grateful to Narcotics Anonymous and sponsorship, because before I even got to the 4th step, I had to go over the symbol, read the chapters, and then 1, 2, and 3. Because see, 1, 2, and 3 prepared me for 4. Because in step 4, it's 2 parts to that, because the first part is asking me my motivations. Why am I doing this? You know, am I doing this because I want to get better? Am I doing it to please my sponsor? Am I doing it for other reasons? And, you know, I had a lot of misinformed information about the 4th step. I was scared, one of those scared ones, to work the 4th step. And my sponsor told me, I told her I was taking forever on it, so she said, well, what's the problem? I said, well, I hear it's so bad. There's so much stuff going to come out and all that. So she said, why don't you just work it? You know, she said it's for you. And when she said that, I could relate, because anything that's for me, I will try to do it. So I did, you know, and it works how and why, you know, I brought that in my step working guide, because in here, like I said, everything comes out the literature. If it's not out the literature, I don't too much listen to it. You know, if it's not people sharing their experience, strength, and hope, you know, instead of preaching and judging, I don't too much listen to it. But I found this right here by saying, by working the first 3 steps, we have formed a solid foundation for our recovery. Because I had to bring in all those spiritual principles that I got from the first 3 steps over here so I could practice some courage. I had to be able to get honest. I had to surrender, be willing. I had to have some hope, some faith, some commitment. You know, I had to do all of that in order to work this 4th step. But during working this 4th step, I'll never forget it. I wrote it out and everything I was through with it. And my sponsor took the thing and put it to the side and said, now let's do a real 4th step. I said, wait a minute now, I did all of this, and you know, you're not gonna look at it and stuff. You like, because I was blaming people, places, and things for everything. You know, at that time I had been clean a minute, so this right here give me the reason not to be able to blame people, place, and things, because it say, how do I know that I really turned my will and my life over to the care of God as I understood Him? It's because I would work the remainder of the steps. That's how I'm gonna do that. Work the remainder of the steps. That's my commitment. You know, because in step 4, I found assets and I found liabilities. My liabilities, I had a lot of them, but during the liabilities, I found some assets. Like, I'm not really that bad. You know, I did some bad things to many people, but I didn't do it because I wanted to. I did it because I was under the influence of something that was much more powerful than me, the drug of my choice. You know, so I had put a lot of stuff, because they talk about sex, relationships, and all that. And then when I got to the sex part, I realized that I had intimacy and sex confused. Sex and love confused. Just because we were having sex didn't mean that you loved me. So I got beat up in a whole lot of relationships. You know, I was, they treated me like I was less than because I didn't know no better. You know, I was raised by a parent that was an alcoholic that did the best she could with what she had. So I learned that also in the steps, you know, not to blame her, because she only gave what she had, just like I can only give what I have, my personal experience. You know, and I was grateful to find out that, because molestation is part of my story, you know, but when I was going over the molestation, I found out, because I was still looking at my uncle, who is not a grown man, as if he was the one that molested me when I was younger. But he was a teenager. So I had to practice some, you know, forgiveness with that, some humility with that, in order to, you know, keep from, every time I be around him, I get the shakes and the shivers, and I get scared and I don't want to be there. But during working this 4th step, I found out, you know, that not only do I do things, you know, but other people do things too. Everybody got a process, you know. And I am so grateful for going through this 4th step, because it says our fear of the unknown may seem overwhelming at this point, but if we recall our faith and trust in higher power, our fear can be overcome. And that was me. When I worked that 4th step, I said, that's the best thing I could have ever did for me, because now I get to see me, you know, the real me, not the one I made up, not the one they made up, not the one I wanted to be, but Janie. And I was like, wow, girl, you're really not that bad, but you got a whole lot of work to do, you know, because you've been out there doing some terrible things, you know, because I beat my own self up. You know, I'm grateful for my sponsor, because when she take me through the steps, you know, first of all, we pray about everything we do, we pray about it first, you know, and when she would take me through the steps, I had been through a 4th step one time, and I let go of some stuff, but the second one, I never forget, she came down the road to do it with me, and she told me that she had prayed about it, and higher power had told her that it's something I need to let go of. And I must have cried about 15 minutes. I just cried, because it was something that I was holding on to that I didn't put in my 4th step. That's why they say it's like peeling an onion. You know, each time I go through these steps, another layer gonna be taken off, and it gets deeper with the spiritual principles of the program. You know, and when I got through with my 4th step, I needed to go on immediately, not wait 6 months, not wait just because I need to go immediately into my 5th step, so I can free myself. I don't wrote it down, now I need to tell you about it. I need to get it out. It's an inside job. So when I did that, you know, I thought that my sponsor was gonna just run away and like, oh no, I can't sponsor you because you crazy, you know, but she didn't. She shared some stuff with me, and I was like, I'm not alone. I'm not alone with this. I'm not the only one made them bad decisions, did what I had to do to get one more. You know, it's nothing out of I wasn't unique. Like they say, I'm really not unique, you know, because the 5th step, being to God, to myself, and to another human being, the exact nature of my wrong. Why am I cussing you out? Is it because I'm self-centered, I want what I want when I want it, and you won't give it to me? You know, what are my behaviors? Why am I doing it? Because the behaviors don't really get to the character defect until you go deeper and find out why am I doing what I'm doing. And, you know, it's great. It's so good to have a sponsor, because I can say some stuff, and I swear I sound good. I done got down, but I done did this thing. And then she come back and say, look, let's take another look at this. And I be like, oh, Lord, here we go. We got to go further, you know. But I'm grateful for that, because admitting what I have done, it frees me up. That 4th, 5th, and 6th step really frees me, because all of them free me. But that 4th one really let me sit back and say, look, stop doing this to yourself. You can't change the past. The past is the past. I'm not responsible for my disease. I'm responsible for my recovery. So when I start doing recovery, then I can ease off of that butt-kicking machine that I always carry around on my back, you know, and it helps me to go on and be, you know, it teaches me integrity as well. Integrity and commitment, because now, am I being honest with my sponsor about what I really done? You know, like she was saying, it's some stuff I said I'd take to my grave, ain't gonna never tell nobody. But it kept me sick. You know, I'm clean, but I'm sick because I won't let this right here go. But the minute I put it out there, it's like, ooh, that wasn't bad. You know, especially if you tell your sponsor, your recovering, you know, sisters and brothers and the sponsor, you be like I tell my sponsor, I share honestly with them. Because I want them to be able to share honestly with me. Because I can't help if you lie. My sponsor can help me if I'm lying, you know, and so on and so forth. If I want to really recover, I'm going to tell you just what's going on with me. Like, I fantasize. I'm married, but I fantasize about other things, you know, other people. Hey, who don't? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I love my husband, but shoot, sometimes there's some eye poppers out there. You know what I'm saying? And I have to watch myself and like, stop, girl, you married. You know, you can't do that right there. You know, y'all know in the dances at the conventions, any convention you see something, you be like, whoa. You know, we don't ask, are you married? You know, we don't ask even how much clean time you have. We just want to get with you. You know what I'm saying? So I had to be careful of that, you know, because that sixth step, going to that sixth step, you know, I had to have a willingness to stop all that, man, and turn it over and get some help. Because I got some character defects to this day. Over 10 years clean, I still have some defects of character that I might hold on a minute, because I know if I share it with my sponsor, we're going to get into a solution. That means some assignment, that means reading a chapter. And I'll be like, well, I can't keep holding in, you know, because now it's bothering me, you know, because I'm talking to her on the phone and she answered me what's going on, how am I doing, and I'm saying, I'm good. But she know by now, when I say that, I'm lying. I'll be done did something, and I get talking, and it like it just pour out. I be like, I didn't need to tell her that, you know what I'm saying? But I'm glad I did, because I don't have to deal with that no more. You know, and I am, you know, I'm still ready for God to remove all the defects of character, but I have to understand this is a lifelong process. This is not going to happen overnight. I still do some things that, you know, warrant an investigation. It warrant for me to really get with my sponsor and find out why am I still doing these behaviors for so long. You know, because to me, I'm doing good. You know, I ain't doing nothing wrong. But to others around me that's in recovery, they be like, oh, you might want to check that. You called your sponsor. And my sponsor, they kill me because you talk to your sponsor. If they hear something or I'm doing something or I'm looking for something, they be like, you talk to your sponsor today, call your sponsor. You know, and I be like, well, call yours. You know what I'm saying? They do. So I can't say that they don't, you know. So I call and I talk to and I let them know everything that's going on. But that fourth, fifth, and sixth step, you know, that right there is my foundation, because once I wrote it down, once I told on it, and once I became willing for God to remove them, then I have to work with God. I can't say, well, I want this removed, and I keep on doing it. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, okay, I can. But the third step do say we can make a decision to turn it over, but the same thing all the time, I don't think so. It's just that I need to change, and that change take place. It's spiritually sometimes it's painful, especially if it's spiritual. It's gonna be painful because I want to hold on. You know, I don't want to let go. I still don't want you to know who I am. You know, but you already know. When I say I'm Jane, a recovering addict, y'all already know who I am. You know, just don't know what I've done. You know, and I don't mind sharing with people. You know, so if it's gonna help somebody to get better, I'll share my stuff that I only share with my sponsor, because they have to see that if I can get through that, they can get through it too. You know, and they say that these steps, I always encourage my sponsor, look, let's get to work, let's, you know, do the chapter, let's go on, get in the step work, because I need to find out why I kept doing, why I kept using, why I couldn't stop, why I was such a SOB out there. Why did I almost destroy the world? You know, why did I tear my family apart? Can I stop this behavior? And the basic test say, yeah, because we do recover. You know, but don't recover overnight. And then I have to be careful with that too, y'all, because I use that don't recover overnight as a little sponge. You know, okay, I don't recover overnight, I don't recover overnight. No, that means you need to look at this, you need to talk about this, and you need to get to the other side of this, you know. And I'm so grateful. I like to thank the convention for asking me to speak because it really did something for me today. You know, it's like, I love Narcotics Anonymous. And I'm grateful for these steps because if it wasn't for that step work, I wouldn't be here today. I'd have found a reason to go back out there and do some more, whether I'm clean and crazy or I'm used and I'm back out there, one or the other. So I'm grateful for Narcotics Anonymous, and I'd like to thank y'all for letting me share.
Thank you.